everybody. Welcome back to Sports Talk. My name's Don Henderson with you on a very busy weekend of sports we just had. And, Don, lots of things going on over the weekend, and hard to know where to begin with, but it was a fun weekend to watch, wasn't it, on TV?
Well, it certainly was, and we're going to have a short show tonight. We're taping a little bit early, and the Open's still going on over in New York, and it's been quite a first three sets. Murray winning the first two sort of handily, and then Djokovic coming back in the third to win it 6-2, and they're in the fourth as we record right now. And as you said, a very, very big weekend pass in sports, and very good for you down in, even though I'm not in Sarasota right now, I'm in New Jersey. Very, very good for you in the Tampa-St. Pete area.
Yeah, you had the Bucks winning. You had the Rays with a couple of big wins over Texas, and also USF won a game which looked like they were going to be run out of the building out in Nevada. I watched some of that, and they came back with a great come-from-behind win there. So three good wins for the Bay Area teams down here this weekend.
No question, and Ciano's got to be one of the happiest men in the world because he came into a very unusual situation. His quarterback did a great job. He didn't turn the ball over at all, and which was something he was noted for last year. But in game number one, he did not. His completion record was very solid, and they were fortunate. They got a couple of turnovers themselves, and so it's got to be a great win for him in his first head coaching job in the National Football League.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of folks here in Tampa Bay, unless you had the NFL Red Zone channel or maybe with DirecTV, the package, you didn't get to see it. Was not sold out. I think they had something like 52,000 seats sold, so not even the 85% threshold, so it was blacked out for the opening. Although now with the win yesterday, they may the next home game may sell out. Who knows? But a very good beginning for, like you said, Ciano, and you know him pretty well from up in Rutgers. Don did a great job with that Rutgers program. They kind of fell off a little bit the last couple of years, but at one time had them ranked at least part of the season in the top five, right?
Yeah, and he jumped out in great shape yesterday. He got 10 points in the first quarter, 3 in the second, 3 in the third. The best that Carolina could do was 7 in the third and 3 in the fourth. So they won it rather handily at 16-10. And you're exactly right. He was a real vote of enthusiasm when he first came to Rutgers. He kept them in the hunt, kept the enthusiasm up, and improved the program immeasurably. And now that he's got a chance down there in Tampa, I really think that he's got a shot to make that team competitive.
The team had lost 10 in a row to end last year. Of course, that caused the complete overhaul of the coaching staff, and Ciano really was not the first choice, but he was brought in, and it looks like so far it's a good choice. I think he's a kind of a tough guy, disciplinarian type of guy, which is opposite of what the previous coaches apparently were doing. So that's a good thing. I guess when the team is kind of running the show in the locker room, that's not always a great thing.
No, it's not, and everybody finds that out really quickly. And Freeman, of course, who turned the ball over so much last year, did not really have a running game. And the one thing that Ciano is going to do is try to establish more and more of that running game, and that'll protect Freeman, and he won't have to, first of all, throw as many passes as he threw last year, and certainly have better protection if the running game is working to get the ball to his respective receivers.
We get into some of the other games of NFL Week 1. Just want to spend a minute or two talking about Art Modell, who passed away since our last show last week. Of course, one of the great names in NFL history. I think unfortunate, Dan. I mean, you and I didn't grow up in Cleveland, so we probably don't have the same emotional feeling of what happened, although I can understand why Browns fans don't like Art Modell, the way they moved the team to Baltimore. But he really was an instrumental, along with Pete Rozelle and some of those other guys like Al Davis, really kind of putting the NFL on the map, particularly with the TV contracts, right?
Yeah, he was one of the early birds that came in and agreed to switch over to the AFC as opposed to the NFC. And, of course, he worked very closely with Wellington Myra, the owner of the Giants at that time. The Myra family owned the Giants. And you're right. He was a stalwart in the National Football League. But I don't know if you noticed or not, there was quite an article in the paper yesterday that they did not want any moment of silence or anything in Cleveland for Art Modell. They felt that the family felt that there was so much animosity in the city for him moving the team to Baltimore that they did not want any recognition for his passing away, and I thought that was sort of unusual.
I just flipped on before we did the show tonight on Monday. The early game, Monday Night Football, is the Baltimore and Cincinnati. It's in Baltimore, and they did a moment of silence there for Art Modell because he brought the Ravens to them. But, they did not want to do anything in Cleveland. There's still a lot of animosity there. Apparently, he could never was able to go back to Cleveland, at least as far as I understood, at least show himself in public. I mean, that's kind of sad in a way, but he never went back to Cleveland, apparently, after they moved the team.
Yeah, it's a shame that they'd have the city would have that type of animosity toward it. Although the same thing happened in Baltimore when they snuck out under the cover of darkness at midnight and went out to Arizona. And then, of course, the league promised Baltimore they'd get a team back. And when Art Modell couldn't make a workable agreement with the city of Cleveland to build a new stadium, which, in fact, they eventually did right after he left, it was only a couple of years they had the new stadium up and had the team back in Cleveland. But for the people that followed the Browns for all those years, and the great years, really, the Browns were a hallmark of the National Football League from the Jimmy Brown era right on through, and it was a shame. But that's the way business is. They compare him, I should say, with what happened with the Dodgers and Walter O'Malley taking them from Brooklyn and going out to L.A., and boy, he was never accepted in Brooklyn again either. No. So people don't forget.
Yeah, the Earth Series never quite got the same level of dislike as a Modell did for some reason, and I think the way the Colts did it was worse. I mean, they snuck the team out. I think at least Modell said they were going to do it, right? It wasn't a overnight thing. I mean, he did tell the people they were going to move, where the Earth Series did it literally by bringing a bunch of moving vans in the middle of the night. And
you're exactly right. That's when it was, around the midnight hour, and Irsay's we're in Arizona, or we're in Baltimore one day, and of course, let's face it, Baltimore had, that was one of the great franchises in the National Football League as well, and you may have noted last night on the telecast, they did do a tribute to Art Modell during the course of the National Football League game last night on TV, so they did do it during the course there, and as you said, they also did it in Baltimore.
Kind of weird ironies, though, that the Ravens won the Super Bowl not long after they moved to Baltimore, and then, of course, the Colts winning their Super Bowl 2 years later in Indianapolis. Teams that moved, so they did win, but not in their original cities. Although Baltimore did have a Super Bowl win in 1970, but a long time in between.
Yes, it was, and as I say, it's the interesting part of professional sports now that. And one of the things I was going to bring up tonight, in fact, I sent you an email this afternoon that we knew we were going to talk about this evening. You look at what happened in Tampa over the weekend. As you just indicated, the Buccaneers were blacked out because they only sold 50-some thousand tickets in a 65,000-70,000 seat stadium. And at the same time, a great first-place team, the Texas Rangers, playing Tampa Bay and St. Petersburg over the last 3 nights. And the first night they did relatively well, but the second and third, they had a little trouble filling that place up.
Yeah, not a great crowd for that series, and the Rays had a great game yesterday with Shields on the mound, 2-hit shutout, and B.J. Upton out of nowhere did the Reggie Jackson act, 3 home runs in the same game.
He hit pretty well against the Yankees when they were there, and he continued it in this series. But I'll tell you, what pitching the Rays got. I mean, that first game, the second game went, 10 innings before they lost it. The first game they won in extra innings, and then, of course, yesterday's game, which they won in regulation. But great weekend for Joe Madden, great weekend for Tampa Bay. There's still 2 games at the back of the Yankees, and the Yankees have seen the Orioles charge twice and tie, but both times the Yankees were able to win, and they're back 1 game ahead again. They haven't been out of first place. They've been tied for first place, but not out.
The game yesterday was a well-needed laugher for the Yankees, scoring 13 runs, but Bad news, they're losing to Shara again, perhaps up to 2 weeks or longer, depending on how that calf heals up. But that game Saturday was a tough one. That call at the end there, I was watching the game on the MLB Network. They had the Baltimore feed. Our friend Gary Thorne was doing it, and I thought it was kind of funny, though, that play at the end of the game where Teixeira slides in the first. They didn't show the replay of that on their network, the Baltimore network. They got right off.
Well, they did and they didn't. What happened there was that, and I thought Gary Thorne did a terrific job, because on the post-game show for the Yankees, they used Gary Thorne's call of the play, and then they also obviously used the Yankee call many times over and over again at the end of the game, and then again in the post-game show. But they did use Gary Thorne's call, and he was very forthright about the fact that it was a bad call. But
that's say it. I just noticed that. Now I didn't watch it after MLB, but as soon as the game was over, they went right to commercial, and they didn't show the replay right then. Did they show it later?
Yeah. Yes, they did.
Okay.
Yes, they did, and that unfortunately, that's part of baseball, and there's so many wrong calls. And the bad part was, as you indicated at the top, was Teixeira, because what happened there was. It looks like right now they did the MRI this afternoon, but they won't make any formal announcement about it until probably before tomorrow night's game. But it looks like, you said maybe 2 weeks, but they were saying in the New York Post today that it's possibly going to be right till the end of the season. He probably wouldn't get back until the post game.
You never get that call though at first when you slide into first. I rarely have ever seen it where a guy slides into first and it's called safe, and that happened again Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, he was clearly out. Yeah, the play was really close, and it's a shame because and what happened, Mealy's had his problems as an umpire, and Ken Singleton really got on top of him and said, comes a time when you have to evaluate the umpires, and they're supposed to be on the top of their game too. This is two teams playing for first place, and you can't blow a call like that. But he also said, which I had not thought of in the past, to be honest with you, that the umpires normally listen to the sound of the ball going in the glove while they're watching the base.
Right.
When you slide in head first, there is no sound. So, you have to be looking at two places at one time. You have to be looking at the glove and also looking at, when his hand touches first base. And I thought that was a sound explanation of how, maybe one of the ways that he got it incorrect. I don't know if he was in a bad position. But it was clearly not a bang play. I mean, the ball was at least, I'm going to say, 1.5 feet from getting to the first baseman's glove when Teixeira touched first base. It wasn't close. He just missed it. That's all. And you have to eat that. That's all. You got to live with it.
And it makes the case for replay, at least on plays at the bag, but probably not going to happen. But Teixeira very upset, and apparently he aggravated that calf on that slide.
Right. Well, he had aggravated a little bit, I guess, going around third earlier, and he then re-aggravated it on this. And it looks like, as I say, it looks like to me anyway. That's the way they're pointing out in the papers today and talking about on radio and TV that he may be out for the regular season and just get back for postseason play.
So we'll keep an eye on that. Yankees off on Monday now. Rays also off. Yankees and the Rays and Orioles open a big series tomorrow night. That should be a lot of fun.
Well, the one thing is that the Yankees do get a day off now, but it was a nice bounce back by the Yankees, to be honest with you. They weren't playing very well, and for them to score 13 runs yesterday, the way they've been hitting and the way they've been playing, and with Teixeira out of the lineup and losing the game the night before by a bad call, it was nice to see, Joe Girardi's team, bounce back and play well. And I guess there was quite a little shouting match in Girardi's office after the game, because they kept asking, "Is CC okay? Is CC okay?" And I guess, Joe got a little fed up with it.
Oh, I didn't hear that. Okay. Usually he's very good, even after a loss. You hear his press conference or interviews with him. Despite a tough loss, he's usually pretty calm. But the pressure getting a little hot on him.
Well, the thing was that he went over. The first person asked him in the post game show, is CC okay? And of course, they had been emphasizing that his velocity on his fastball has been down about 2 miles an hour. It's running now around 91, 92, where it was 94 and plus 2 years ago, and it's let up a little bit. And of course, he was on the disabled list just before these 3 consecutive bad performances. And was he hurt? And Joe said, no, he's not hurt. And then the next guy came in. I guess he'd been out of the room or something. And Joe, is CC hurt? And then when the third guy got on him, he just said, hey, CC is okay. And I guess he just got fed up. And when then Joel Sherman came in, I guess after the game, and I don't know whether he went to I don't know all the details because they had the door closed in Joe's office, but they said there were a lot of yelling and screaming, and they had to separate the 2 guys. And Joel again was asking, is CC really okay? Hey, let's face it. At this time of the year, everybody has a little soreness. I mean, but CC saying he's okay. If he takes the ball, that means he's okay and he can pitch. He just lost the game. And now he's lost 3 in a row. So he has not been pitching well, no question about it.
Another pitcher that upset about he's not going to be able to pitch anymore this year, the whole Steven Strasburg story. I know we talked about it the last couple of weeks. I thought it was just the way that it was handled Friday and then Saturday with the announcement that he's done for the year. I could kind of surprised the way Davey Johnson made that announcement. They almost made it seem like Strasburg gave up on his last start and deserved to be, shut down the rest of the year. I don't think that's fair to Strasburg. I don't know what you thought, but
I sort of
by the Nationals.
I sort of agree with you, Doug. I would have thought that Davey Johnson would have made some type of announcement prior to the start, saying that we've sat down with Strasburg and he realizes this is his final start of the season. Not wait till the guy loses a game and gives up 6 runs or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then make the announcement, after the game. I don't understand that. I disagree with them stopping pitching anyway. But I also disagree with the way, the Nationals handled it.
Yeah, I thought it was terrible the way they did it. And can you blame Strasburg for really kind of being mentally out of it or down? He knows at any time that could be his last start, and he probably wasn't, fully into it Friday anyway. He had a bad outing. That can happen to any pitcher. And
right.
I was kind of getting blamed for not being mentally into it when the team all year long is kind of telling them, you're going to be shut down at any time. We're not going to tell you when until maybe the day before. I just don't think it's fair to him.
Well, maybe I'm incorrect. Maybe they did tell him the day before, or maybe they told him before the game. I don't know, but I hadn't seen anything until after the fact that said that this was it. He was finished for the year. That was after he had a very tough outing on Saturday.
Yeah, I just thought the attitude of Johnson, the way he kind of described it, they showed the cut that he was almost blaming Strasburg for it's almost his fault or that they have to shut him down. I don't think that's fair to him. But because he had a great year, 15-6. I mean, he could have won 20 this year, probably if they, had a couple other games that went his way. I mean, he had a great season, and who knows if he doesn't have any arm soreness. They should let him pitch, but that's a whole nother show. We've done that over and over, and he's done for the year, so that's it.
They said it all along that this is what they were going to do. They just didn't announce the exact date that he was going to stop. But as you said, we've talked about it, and you can talk in infinitum. This is what the decision they made, and let's hope it doesn't affect the club and that they can continue on, because Davey's had a great year. Right now, I'd say he's right there for the National League Manager of the Year, and which he got back when he was with the Mets. He has had a previous. He's been selected before, but he has done a great job with the Nationals, and so I hope this doesn't affect that they keep right on rolling.
Wouldn't be happy though if I was a Nets fan and you get into a tough deciding game and you don't have your best ace out there. But that's a whole other thing.
Right. Well, 2 things are really affected, to be honest with you. One is that if my numbers are correct, I'm not exactly sure, but I think it was 1927 the last time but then the Washington Senators or any team in Washington ever, came close to winning a pennant or getting into a playoff situation. And so this team is just starting to gain some momentum. They've got the new stadium. They've got everything going their way. And now, they decided to take Strasburg out. Now, if they should go into a slump or something should happen, it's going to be devastating, I would think, for the new club. And also the fact that they're going head up against the Orioles, who are only 25 miles away. And Buck's got that team as probably he's in a great shot to win maybe Manager of the Year, taking the Baltimore Orioles into this last series with the Yankees and taking them down, tying for first place and losing 2-4, but still only one game behind. You got a lot of baseball enthusiasm 25 miles apart in those two cities, and so just have to wait and see what happens.
Could be a Beltway series.
Yeah, actually could. It could be the Washington-Baltimore freeway.
Let's go back to the football, and you and I had talked a lot about the Jets leading up to this season. Terrible preseason, but obviously Jets proving that meant nothing, although people have to remember they played the Bills, not the greatest team, but hey, put 48 points up in any NFL game, that's pretty good.
No question about it. A lot of enthusiasm right now, and after the ball game and into today as to how well the Jets played, and also a sidebar, that Tebow really wasn't a factor. They used the Wildcat a couple of times, but he really didn't have any impact on the game whatsoever. Sanchez was really the dominant force in the game, and so they at least got that. They're finished with that now. They just go on and show that unless they decide to do something else with Tebow, that's where they stand right now.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of they put him in the first play just to probably get it out of the way so the fans can see him. Did that Wildcat thing, didn't really do much. Interception early by Sanchez. People might have thought, well, here we go again, but I thought Sanchez had a good game after that. Played pretty solid.
No question. He recovered and led the team as they were hoping he would. And you're right, Tebow, really didn't have any impact on the game whatsoever. You're right. They played him on that first play, I think, because the fans are so enthralled with Tebow. And so I think they wanted to get him out on the field for two reasons: get him a chance to play, and then on top of that, to appease the fans who came out to see him play.
Well, your Eagles, Don, they survived on the red zone. Came down to almost the last play of the game against the Browns.
They were terrible. They were absolutely terrible.
And
Vic, 3 interceptions. Forget what the statistics were. The last time a team has won with 3 interceptions, it's been a while ago. But in the end, as Vic does so often, he got him in the end zone and won the game by a couple of points. But holy cow, were they terrible! I mean, just awful. And so it'll be interesting. And I think one of the things that we all pointed out right along, Vic was injured all during the exhibition season. They normally don't play in the exhibition season anyway very much, but he didn't even get to play because he was hurt all the time. I think he had only played 5 plays before the opening game. So 5 or 7 plays, something like that. And
the bruised ribs, right? Was wearing the flak jacket and all that. So he was hurt, in fairness to him.
Yeah. First it was the hand, and then it was the ribs, and he constantly refuses to run out of bounds, although this time he was just double teamed on the field after he threw the ball when he got the ribs hurt. But he hadn't played at all, and it certainly showed yesterday that he hadn't played.
I want to bring on our pal, the G-Man, who I'm sure has some thoughts not only on Luck with the Colts, tough loss for them, although I thought Luck played well, and his former QB, Peyton, down in Denver. Here's the G-Man, and G-Man, the mic is yours. Go.
Well, did the regular season start this weekend in City Hang? I'm just curious.
Were you glued to the Bronco game, or did you refuse to watch?
No, actually, I was curious. The Bronco game was what I pretty much expected it to be, quite frankly. To me, the Steelers look lackluster. They looked old. They left those men open all the time. That's just my opinion, of course. I'm an armchair, but quite frankly, it's what I expected. You know, the game to me that was the most intriguing game was the Washington-New Orleans game.
Good game.
Yeah, I was fairly impressed with what I saw for an opening game with that team. And the Jets, like I said, that was a must-win for them. I'm glad to see them. And it's a shame the Browns didn't beat the Eagles.